Welcome everyone to the TheUndercoverBrony Reviews. The episode reviewed today will be All's Well That Ends Well, written by Cindy Morrow.
So one thing before we get this review started, I have some news.
What?
Brian is no longer a brony.
What?
Yeah, that's why I have this hat. This used to be his hat. So now I get to rock this thing, and he doesn't get to do shit.
Oh my god! You didn't tell me. Oh my god. Okay, so
let's get into a bad episode. Let's rip this one to shreds.
Whatever. It's fine. I mean, honestly, how can you trust someone that marries a furry? I say as my missus. So, All's Well That Ends Well. This is one of those episodes I forget about because I forget about Owlicious, because I forget about most of season 1, a quarter of season 2, and I wish I could forget most of season 3.
Yeah.
But this is an episode. This was the first Spike episode, no?
Yes, it was the first Spike episode. Like starring role Spike episode.
And how long was it till he got a good one?
It took until season 6 with the Dragon Bloodstone Scepter one.
Here's a hot take. Let me tell you all something. If anyone tries to tell me that Power Ponies was a good Spike episode, you're a liar.
Yeah.
The designs are cool, and honestly, I kind of wish that what was that villain's name? Main Deucer or something?
Oh, Maniac.
Yeah, I kind of wish that somehow, some way, she could have showed up again, but that's it. I mean, like any true comic book thing, the best thing was the villain. Go figure. So, yeah.
It took until Gauntlet of Fire for him to have a great episode.
First off, the name is, I said this when we reviewed it, the name is just fucking metal.
It sounds like Avenged Sevenfold, Shepherd of Fire.
It sounds like that. It sounds like a Judas Priest song. It reminds me of Rhapsody of Fire, which was that metal band that Christopher Lee sang for.
Yeah. I mean, hell, Christopher Lee, just before we get to the episode, Christopher Lee was one of the greatest individuals to ever live. I mean, he played Dracula, he played Count Dooku, he played Saruman, and in his 80s, he decided to write and produce a metal album. That's incredible.
And if you're a guy like me, you'll also remember he was Ansem the Wise at Kingdom Hearts 2. Not a lot of screen time, but he made every minute count.
Oh, yeah.
So, All's Well That Ends Well. I've got it pulled up on the tropes, as the cool kids call them.
Of course.
So, like Kingdom Hearts, there's a meteor shower, right? Scope it. So Spike and Twilight are getting ready for this meteor shower. It happens every 100 years. And Twilight's like, "Hey, Spike, can you go get me a star book?" He's like, he accidentally sneezes, and then the book is dye. And so Twilight's pissed.
Yeah, he literally pushes the book back together and puts it back on the shelf. I'm like, you little shit.
Because that's
great. Sorry.
Because that's a great way to establish connectivity or relatability to a character we're supposed to sympathize in their first solo episode. I mean, all the other main 6 got their own solo episode by this point. And so this is Spike's. And it's like, oh, let's make him a liar.
In addition, he wanted to be a pretentious little bastard. Because think about it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. That is because you're my number one assistant. Didn't quite catch that. Shut the fuck up. Okay? Your whole life does not have to revolve around Twilight, number 1. And number 2, if she says that, accept it humbly and move on. Don't try and get it more and more and more.
And thirdly, he really doesn't really after this episode, like his life really only revolves around Twilight in this one episode, and you could argue maybe that episode of the last season where Twilight finally on screen calls him her brother, but it's like, I mean, maybe you could chalk that up to character development. I wouldn't really call it out of character, but I just think it's like, if you think about it, like Spike throughout the show after at least season 3, I mean, I feel like for the last 5-6 years of the show, Spike was written pretty consistently as, you know, your cool guy, everyman, definitely the most reasonable, probably the most humble. So this episode was really jarring to go back and watch because I was just like, man, well, it's like you said, I was like, what a bastard.
Yeah. So they're at a meteor shower. And Spike made cookies and punch. And what I find interesting is when the star shower starts, it does a panning shot of the main six, and the CMC are there, and Spike's there. And for some reason, the only other person I knew of that noticed this was Paleo Steno, where for some reason at the end of that whoa line from each of the characters, Sweetie Belle just says once. It's so out there and weird, but I caught it. I'm like, what the hell?
I sleep regularly, people. I actually like that shot of them watching the meteor shower. I forgot how much I liked that shot. That's one of those shots that I'm surprised no one like drew extensive amounts of fan art of. But moving the plot along, so
Punch has been spiked.
I was literally about to say that.
Yeah.
Damn Christian, damn Catholic. So
they had. This is the like 2 alcohol. Well, technically like 4 or something like that. Because I know the cider episode that we'll get to in season 2. That's definitely alcohol. That's definitely alcohol.
Didn't the finale of season 1 sort of have one? Because he's drinking coffee, slams it on the counter. It's like, hey, Pony Joe, another donut. He's like, haven't you had enough? He's like, haven't you had enough? And he's like, I'll tell you when I've had enough.
Yeah. But you have Brado Gossip with Appletini, which is great. Yeah. And then you have this one where the punch has been spiked. And this one's a little bit more of
isn't Applejack's isn't Applejack's same kind of one too?
Yeah, because an Appletini is an actual alcoholic drink. It's an actual spirit, but
I know Appletini. I said Applejack.
I know people have been like Applejack Daniels.
Well, yeah, maybe that's all I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Yeah. But the other thing was this episode I feel was a bit more meta because the one in Brado Gossip was kind of difficult to or easy to miss. This one, they spent some time on that joke. A couple more seconds of it at least. So number one, the kids are thinking, oh, it's Spike. He's laying in it, so that's why it's Spike. But the adults in the room are being like, you just pulled a fast one on us.
That's a twofer. So Twilight, she's writing about how slit meteors are, and a gust of wind, as it says, blows away the paper. An owl grabs it, but when he flies away, Twilight's like, hey man, why don't you keep me company? You single? When Spike wakes up, he notices the owl, who is now named Owlicious. Oh, whoa, what's this? Owlicious. So let's talk about Owlicious.
Okay. In reality,
I don't really care about him. So what happens next is
what I'll say, I'll say like
It doesn't matter. The only character I could think of that's been introduced that literally doesn't matter, and I'm counting the movie characters and all the characters that were literally just there to shoehorn in celebrity voice actors that they could put on the poster instead of the voice actors for the ponies. The only character I can think of that matters less than Owlicious is Pee-wee.
yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you this, Owlicious for this entire episode, you can definitely tell that this is a being of lower sentience because it doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Like it has some sort of innate sense, with the end of the episode, but I could argue that was more instinct than anything else. But the owl is not the problem in this episode, but it did accentuate how badly Spike was written in this episode.
Yes, and it's funny because the joke was Applejack could just never get a good episode, and Spike could never get a good episode / be written good in his own episodes. Because I mean, I think wasn't it around season 3 that people were starting to turn on Spike because they really didn't like Spike at Your Service?
Yeah, because that was midway through season 3.
Because I remember throughout all of season 1 and 2 and through most of 3, everyone was like, "Dude, Spike's the biggest Chad. He's the maddest of lads." But then after Spike at Your Service, everyone was like, "Oh, he's just a lad." And then it just feels like from season 4 to the end, it just feels like everyone just turned on the guy, and because everyone always thought Spike was dope, but it just feels like for the last like 5-6 years of the show, everyone just bemoaned Spike having any screen time. It wasn't until not after Gauntlet of Fire, but before that. It was after the Equestria Games episode. People liked the episode, but they were also let down by the fact that we didn't see the Equestria Games.
They're like, why is this episode not about the game? Why is it a fucking Spike episode?
I remember that, and I remember thinking that was really funny. And but then, Gauntlet of Fire turned him around, and then for I'd say from about seasons 7 till the end, people liked Spike again. But I just remember there being like a thick period where people started to hate, where people didn't hate Spike, but they were just over him, I guess you could say.
Well,
and how could they not be? Because between this and then, Spike at Your Service, and then like just a couple other bits and pieces too. I mean, and then Power Ponies, which was very 50-50. You had a lot of people thinking that Spike legitimately could not be good in his own episodes / could not have a good. Well, his episodes could be okay, but he sucked at them.
Well, I'll tell you this: you were talking about how with the Equestria Games that everyone hated the fact that, and you were laughing at the fact that everyone just hated it for a stupid reason. I'm reminded of that picture I sent you of everyone's talking about how badly the Super Bowl halftime show was, and we should just bring in Lamb of God and have a bunch of Christians think, oh, yay, they're finally respecting our religion. And then Lamb of God starts playing, and we can watch Facebook melt. It would be fucking hysterical.
It's like, hey guys, we're called Lamb of God. This song's called Lay to Rest. That'd be funny.
This song's called Rules of Nature.
Oh my god. Metal Gear Ray just jumps from the sky. and then Randy Blythe, the singer of Lamb of God, has to fight Metal Gear Ray. And his only weapons are his screams and dreadlocks.
Right. Anywho.
Yeah.
So Spike goes to meet Owlicious. And there is one good part of this scene that I like. It's where Owlicious just like creepily turns his head because owls could turn like 180 degrees. It's really weird. But cool in the same sense of the word. But he turns his head 90 degrees. And Spike's like, whoa, dude, that's creepy. That was a great line right there.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
The next several minutes of the episode is him trying to one-up Owlicious. And literally this whole episode I could basically sum up as Mario Party. Luigi wins by, or no, Owlicious wins by doing absolutely nothing. Just saying. And like, there's a bunch of stuff where like Spike got a bow with gems on it during the meteor shower, and then it's given Owlicious, and they're just sitting there and it's like, oh, he's just wonderful. And then you have Spike in the tree branch going, he's just wonderful. Shut up, you little bitch.
So,
and he has an owl book just like, oh, so you're trying to kill the poor thing. What the hell, dude?
I mean, are we going to talk about how he tried to frame out in this TV Y7 show? Are we going to forget about the part where he tried to frame Owlicious for legitimate murder?
I found it hysterical because, like, you know, he is a kid, number one, but you're not that young that you would think that ketchup splatter and a stuffed mouse toy from Opal would be convincing, right? Right?
Sure. Let's see here. Okay, so after he frames Alice for Twilight says, "This is not the Spike I know and love."
And then he falls asleep and gets woken up by the book that he burned, slamming down onto the step next to him. And that scene right there, it reminded me every time I got caught disobeying my parents when I was younger. Just saying.
It's not exactly this, but that reminds me whenever my dad's mom would stay over with us, and she wouldn't wake me up. She wouldn't nudge me awake. She would open the curtains to the blinding sunlight and then begin singing loudly. And I'm not going to get mad at her because she's my grandma. I love her. And also Mexican grandma, so she's scary.
Well, I'll tell you this. The one good thing that I liked with this episode was the fact that, like, Twilight, for the most part, was actually pretty good because, especially in that scene, because she's not, like, pissed off. Why did you not tell me this? Whatever. You know, it's more of like, Spike, you told me this was missing, but I just found exactly where it was. What happened? You know, she's being direct and firm, but she's not yelling at him.
Yeah, which
I like.
Which is quite, you know, I think with the you know, the rising of things like you know, just certain like TV shows and like and Gen Xers, you know, keeping certain boomer mentalities. I feel like I feel like a lot of people are under the impression that yelling at someone's the best way to get their point across. I think the way Twilight did is way more effective because I can't really explain it. It's just one of those things. It's one thing for someone to be angry at you, but when they're disappointed, I don't know. Disappointed, the word, it just sounds so much more permanent and or long term than angry. Because you know angry is a fleeting emotion and it can either go one of two ways. Either get through it or it resides itself in its bitter, but you're not under the influence of anger for a long period of time. It just turns into something else. But disappointment, that can, you know, and it just hurts. I mean, we've all been told, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And then it's like, this is like that Bon Jovi song, because you feel like you got shot through the heart, and you're to blame.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing that, yeah, I agree with you because having someone mad at you, that's easier to deal with than someone who's disappointed in you. Because you feel like you can barter a little bit more with someone who's angry than you can with someone who's just disappointed. You know what I mean?
Oh, trust me, I do. So Twilight's just like, you know, I trusted you, but now you're just somebody that I used to know. What the hell happened to Gautier? And he so after that, Spike, oh my god, my stupid phone. I dropped my cell phone into a body of water and now it's acting all whack recently.
Oh no. Did you put it on
So
rice?
no,
Oh shit.
I wasn't home.
Oh no.
Let's see, something. Okay, so Spike's like, oh my god, my sister hates me. And he runs into this cave, but there's like a dragon in there. So Spike's like, sup, bro? And then Big Smoke is like, you picked the wrong house, fool. And then out of the darkness, Howlicious shows up and distracts the dragon. And Spike is like, oh my god. And then Twilight shows up. He's like, oh my god. So because owls can see in the dark.
Yeah.
Because owls can see in the dark.
Yeah, they're nocturnal.
Owlicious leads the way home. So Spike was like, Twilight's like, bro, why'd you run away? He's like, well, because you hate me. And she's like, a little bit. No, she's like, he's like, I just liked being your number one assistant. And Twilight's like, you'll always be my number one assistant.
Well,
you may be ooh woo, you know.
Yeah, but like the whole thing. Again, I really like Twilight's maturity here because she's just like, I was so worried, something terrible could have happened to you. And he's just like, but I felt like you didn't love me anymore. But she's like, Spike, nothing could ever change my love for you. The only reason I have Aloysius over here is because he's nocturnal, so he can help me at night. And I feel like they should have had a line that was her being like, I'm sorry that I didn't convey that to you right away. Because all that could have been avoided, But then we wouldn't have a My Little Pony episode, so I guess, But
Digga, My Little Pony. I'm surprised they didn't have that be the song at some point during the credits for the movie. I was disappointed I didn't hear that snare roll.
Yeah. Well, overall, it's still a bad episode, but it's not bad as in like a lot of the content. It's more that it was boring.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, it moved around a lot, so at least it wasn't in a static setting. But this is one of those very dialogue, little action type of things, and I just felt that it was a little on the like. The idea is nice, but just some of the dialogue I feel just wasn't as strong. I feel like if they wrote this a couple seasons later, it might have been written a teeny bit better just because the characters are more established. Mm-hmm. Because at this point, they're just characters. By the time season 4 comes around, they're a franchise, so they have set guidelines at that point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, honestly, I'm going to be real with you. It wasn't as lame as I remember it being. I don't think it makes it really good, but it's not late. It's not the worst episode I've seen, obviously.
So what would you score it then?
What would you score it? I'm curious.
I probably scored a 6.5.
I was going to be nice and give it a 7, but if I'm being honest with you, I was really feeling like a 6.75.
Okay. No, I mean, not a horrible episode. Trust me, we'll get to the horrible episodes. Especially, and I'll tell you this, season 2, I'll have more to say with the season 2 retrospective, but season 2, you are not the best season. Everyone wants to claim that you are, but I'm sorry, you are not. It had some good episodes, yes. It did bring Discord, it did bring Chrysalis, yes. But there was some shit. There was some major shit that came in this episode.
And we're not even talking about just Mysterious Ne'er-Do-Well.
Uh-huh. So,
Then again, though, I mean, bro, the first 4 episodes are that premiere, then Lesson Zero, and then the Luna episode. I mean, come on, that's a pretty good start.
exactly. Let me see what next week's episode is. Is it episode 24?
Shouldn't it be Party of One?
I think so. Let me double check.
Can
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We get to Party of One. Yes.
Oh boy,
It's gonna be so good.
I've waited for years to review this episode. I'm gonna pull it up on Netflix like the day before.
Right? And we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is still so twisted and sick, but it's amazing.
I don't even know why I still have Netflix. BoJack Horseman ended.
So, until next time, that's it from me, John.
Give me Snakeskin.
And we will talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.
Adios.